Welcome to the Wauwatosa School District. I'm Beth Ehrenberger, the Director of Student Learning, and we're going to take you on a journey today where you will learn about our professional learning communities, our building leadership teams, and our coaching model in the district. With me is a very special friend that helps us do so many great things here in Wauwatosa, and he's going to share with you all of the work that we're doing. This is Frederick Milan Uppett, PhD, and he's going to be not only a smart friend to take along for the day, but he's going to be a ton of fun. Have a great day, Frederick. I hope you enjoy everything that you see in our district.
Before I head out into the district to chat with some of your members, I was wondering, can you tell me a little bit more about something called professional learning communities?
Recently, we're invited to the Milwaukee Summit to talk about how in the Wauwatosa School District we are implementing professional learning communities, especially as we are addressing literacy up to third grade. We started that conversation by letting the audience know the demographics of the Wauwatosa School District.
Well, now I'm very curious. Can you tell me how many people make up your learning community?
Yes, we have 9 elementary schools. We have 1 charter, WSTEM. We have a Montessori school, 2 middle schools, 2 high schools, 7,400 total students.
Oh, that's a lot.
And 563 teachers.
Oh, my.
And what's really cool is we have 6.5 district teacher leaders, 9 reading specialists, and 2 coaching consultants that help us implement our PLC and coaching models.
Can you tell me a little bit about the socio-economical makeup of some of the Wauwatosa School District students?
The Wauwatosa School District has about a 23% free and reduced lunch population. So we are a diverse school district and we're very proud of that.
I hear that Wauwatosa School District is very ethnically diverse. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
68% of our students are white, 21% of our students are black, and 6% are Asian, and 5% are Hispanic. And most importantly, we have 1,200 open enrollment students that attend the Wauwatosa School District, and we are thrilled to be able to have them as part of our educational community.
That's a lot of people to make a school community.
We feel really fortunate to have all those people working every day for our students.
Can you tell me what makes an effective learning community?
You have to have some focused goals. Our Board of Education has 4 goals for us that we know when we're in a PLC what we're aiming for. So those 4 goals you can see on this slide are addressing WKCE performance, MAP performance, ACT composite performance, and our enrollment in advanced placement courses. And we track this data every year and report it to our Board of Education to determine our success. The other thing that our board has as a focus is reading. So that's really important to the work that the Department of Public Instruction is asking us to speak about. One of the things that contributes to the success of the professional learning community model in the Wauwatosa School District is that it's not just PLCs, but we actually have a staff development model that focuses on how we can strengthen our professional learning communities on an ongoing basis. A lot of times in the past, staff development has just been sending people to individual conferences or having somebody take a course or do some professional reading on their own. But we embrace the concept of communities across the district, even when we're training teachers on how to implement professional learning communities with fidelity. So one of the things that we do first is we want to strengthen our Tier 1 instruction. So we have reading and math coaches in classrooms on a regular basis. And this year we're focusing on grades 4 and 5. Other years we've focused on other grade levels. So we have district teacher leaders that help with math coaching. We have reading specialists that work with our reading instruction. They engage in pre-planning, observation, debriefing, and ongoing coaching. Aside from coaching in our district, we also have a building leadership team model, and it's called a pay it forward model.
Now, what's that?
I know, it's kind of a cool thing. About 5 times a year in our district, we bring together teachers from across our 9 elementary schools, and they get to collaborate together. So they're teacher leadership groups. And the goal of those professional learning communities for the past 5 years has been to focus on those 4 PLC questions. So we want people to be able to know what an effective PLC looks like. And then we want them to think about what it is that we're supposed to know and learn. And then how do we assess? And how do we intervene? How do we help advanced learners? So those are the kinds of things that happen in the building leadership team model that strengthen our PLC work.
What do they do with all that information?
Well, what they do is they take all that information back to their buildings and they pay it forward. And what we do is we build capacity by having peers, our teachers, teaching other teachers what they learned at the building leadership team training. So they get to pay it forward to their colleagues so that they too can engage in high quality professional learning communities.
So you said that today I might have the opportunity to see some PLCs in action. Can you tell me a little bit more about what I might expect to see?
Well, you're going to see some pretty powerful things in professional learning communities today. I think you're going to see teachers collaborating around some data. You might see teachers having some discussion as they look at exemplars of work that students have produced. You also might hear some really great conversations about how we can help students learn regardless of where they're at in that process. I think it's also important to know that our PLCs are every week here in Wauwatosa. So we have what we call Wauwatosa Wednesdays, where for about an hour and a half in all buildings, teachers are engaging in collaboration. So they're meeting as grade level teams or content teams at all levels, elementary, middle, and high school. 4 times a year, our elementary schools meet as triads, so they actually collaborate then with other schools in our district. To make this fun for the kids and for the parents too, we have our recreation department provide programs for the children during the early release time for the professional learning communities.
You know, Mrs. Ehrenberger, it sounds like a lot of things make PLCs work and flow really well. Is one area more important than any other?
No, the really cool thing is that all of these areas make the other areas stronger. So you need to build capacity for your teachers in order to have a good PLC, but you also need to have strong Tier 1 instructions so that your PLCs are talking about the right things. And yet there's still a little tiny place for teachers to go out and learn on their own. We still want to encourage that. So all of these things at different times play a role in our teachers learning and growing every day, just like our students.
It sounds like PLC is quite a popular and beneficial tool to have. For those school districts who have yet to implement PLC into their community, what kind of advice can you give them in terms of what you've learned?
That's a great question. Most importantly, PLCs work. I think you're going to see that today when you see some of those things in action. We also have some data that supports we are getting the achievement that we're looking at with our 4 goals. The more people understand that when you're implementing professional learning communities, it is a paradigm shift. It's a change. Things don't stay the same. You're not coordinating or cooperating. You're collaborating, and there's a difference in those 3 concepts. You should never let up on improving the model. You can never have arrived. There's always ways that you can make your PLC model better, which continually helps students to grow and learn. It's easy to overlook things like norms. If you have good norms, it's going to help your teachers get through some of those tough struggles that they might have with each other when they're confronting change in the way that they might teach. You can't expect people to just know how to collaborate. You actually have to teach them how to collaborate. You have to have staff development and training ongoing so that teachers have a chance to continue to grow and learn throughout the process. And most importantly, you have to stay the course. There's going to be bumps along the road. There'll be times you don't get the results that you want. There'll be struggles. There'll be times people don't get along collaborating. But you have to stay the course because it's through those challenges and dissidents that actual learning takes place.
As your professional learning community grows, what are some of the growing pains and challenges that you might face?
Well, I think that most importantly, you have to have good benchmarks. And the benchmarks in Wauwatosa are those things that we agree are so important at a grade level that they need to be assessed. So if you don't have strong benchmarks, we're finding out it weakens the power of the professional learning community. So we're continually reviewing our benchmarks for improvement. The other thing is that you have to have good common formative and summative assessments. And again, that comes back to having good benchmarks to work off of. It's important that our teachers know how to analyze data, and we continue to work on that. Also, trying to decide what the accountability will be for the teachers' professional learning community. Should there be accountability? What should that look like? Should it be data? Should it be a log? We found that that's a great place for us to settle at this time. Also, that different schools have different leadership, and so PLCs look different in different places. And sometimes we want to have consistency so that we have equity for all the students learning in our district. One of the challenges is also related to a piece of data that we have. Last summer, when we were looking at how we might improve working toward our MAP goal, we looked at the slide that you're seeing now. And what you'll notice is that the higher you perform on our MAP test in the fall, the less likely you are to meet your growth target. So what we can learn from this slide is that Wauwatosa School District is very, very good at working with our lower quartile students, and we get really good results. So you could ask us a lot of things about what we do to get those results, because we do use research-based interventions, we do use our professional learning community to address the needs of those students, and that maybe what we are trying to learn now is how do we transfer that laser-like focus to other students performing in other quartiles, especially at that top quartile. So recently in our building leadership teams, we spent time talking about the advanced learner and how we can keep that bar high. We're also expecting that the Common Core will help us in addressing the needs of some of these other students at a higher quartile. In order to have credibility, I think every school district that wants to talk about implementing new initiatives has to have some data that really backs up that what they do makes a difference. And in this particular slide, you're going to see that the Wauwatosa elementary schools have done really well with third grade reading scores. In fact, all of our schools exceed the state. And 8 out of 9 of our elementary schools significantly exceed state expectations on the latest report card. This is really good encouragement and data that what we do makes a difference. Another piece of data that I think is really interesting to look at is the data that you see in front of you is from the Value Added Research Center. And what they did here is they controlled for variables like gender, ethnicity, poverty, English language learners, and looked at our data over a 3-year period in comparison to like demographic schools. And in doing that, you'll see that we have some schools that are way above the bar of what the state would expect, and we have many schools that are, again, very significantly above that bar. We only have one school that just barely pushes up against the bar. So this is also really strong evidence that we are getting some results up to our third grade reading.
Wow! It looks like the Wauwatosa School District set some pretty high standards for your students. I can't wait to see how you incorporate all of this student achievement into your daily teaching.
I think you're going to see today some of those things that contribute to the success of these goals. You're going to see some PLCs in action. You're going to see some coaching. We have literacy and math coaching going on almost every day. You're also going to see some teachers talking about why they think professional learning communities have been valuable to their performance here in the Wauwatosa School District.
I can't wait! I am so excited to go out and see what you guys are doing. Do you mind if I go?
You're more than welcome. Have a great day.
Awesome, thank you!
First stop, Roosevelt Elementary with Mr. Frank Calarco.
Hi, Freddie. Welcome to Roosevelt Elementary School, the birthplace of professional learning communities in the Wauwatosa School District.
Here we are with the principal at Wauwatosa West High School, Frank Calarco. He was responsible for bringing PLCs to the Wauwatosa School District. Now, Frank, how did you prepare yourself for being the first principal in the district to implement PLCs at Roosevelt?
That's a great question. Ironically, Freddie, I didn't know exactly what I was looking for, but I actually went to a conference on professional learning communities that were put on by the DeFores. And while I was at that conference, learned a lot about how to have teachers collaborate effectively. So that's how it got started.
Now, what were some of the successes you remember from the first 3 years of your PLC implementation?
What I really recall is looking at our WKCE data the first year and noticing that our math scores were one of the worst out of the 9 elementaries. It was sad. So what we decided to do was really concentrate on raising our test scores using open response, different types of interventions for open response. And after the first year, we went from like last in the district to second in the district out of the 9 elementary schools.
That's not bad at all. Now, what were some of the challenges the schools faced with implementation of PLC?
Well, the biggest challenge, and you'll hear this all the time, is finding time for teachers to collaborate. So our first year, we did not have early release, so we were carving out a half an hour here and 45 minutes there just to have our teachers have some time to get together by grade levels and collaborate on very important issues.
Do you think the community was very responsive to children leaving early?
At first, that was a tough sell. We had to keep getting in front of our parents and help them to understand that in all professions, it's important for professionals to collaborate so that they can build their knowledge and get better at their practice. And slowly but surely, I think parents started to understand that if they wanted their children to get a better education, they needed us as professionals to teach each other how to be better.
Now, you're no longer the principal at Roosevelt, but West High School, right?
Correct.
But PLC is still here at Roosevelt. Why do you think PLCs were able to remain successful after you left Roosevelt?
Well, I think for a couple of reasons. Number one, I think that when our teachers started to see the results of student achievement scores getting better, that gave them a lot of buy-in. But number two, and more importantly, they found that time they were really learning from each other, and the old philosophy of 3 heads are better than one or 2 heads are better than one. When they had time to pick each other's brains and really figure out how to teach better, I think they found that very valuable. In fact, I know they found that valuable, and they just started to embed that into their practice.
Now, how did you draw upon your experiences from implementing PLC at Roosevelt into implementing it at Wauwatosa West?
Well, I think just like being a coach, you have a template for success, and if you're a football coach, you have the way you set up your practices and the way you set up your games. Kind of the same thing as a principal. I knew from my time at Roosevelt how to effectively start PLCs and monitor them. And although West had already started PLCs, I think what I was able to bring in was a little bit more structure, and that I think our teachers have really found necessary to get better at West.
Well, Mr. Calarco, I think you guys made a touchdown. Now, why don't I go see some of your other teachers and hear a little bit more about their PLC time? Do you mind?
Sounds great, Freddie. It was great chatting with you today.
Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Calarco.
All right.
Have a good one.
You too.
Next stop, Madison Elementary, where I make myself right at home in the principal's office. Mrs. Pleva, please send Lori Lester to my office.
Right away, Mr. Uppett.
Thank you.
I understand I'm being called to the principal's office?
Of course, for some PLC questions. Here we are with Madison's principal, Lori Lester. Hey, Mrs. Lester, as a principal, have you seen PLCs change your school's culture?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Freddie. PLCs are really essential in building a collaborative culture where teachers work together to analyze student data, and it really helps improve student learning. They have to work together collaboratively in order to achieve a collective purpose when it comes to expecting high levels of learning.
Mrs. Lester, as an administrator, how do you assist your staff in PLC time?
Well, Freddie, I want to make myself available to help teams analyze data, to engage teachers in conversation about instructional strategies, and to find time and resources for teams to pursue continuous learning that will improve their practice too.
It sounds like a professional learning community can be quite a valuable tool, but I'm interested in hearing a little more facts and figures from a number cruncher. Perhaps I'll put in a call to the big guy himself. Hiya, Dr. Erdl.
Good morning.
Dr. Erdl, I've been speaking to many teachers and administrators in your district, and they all find value in PLCs. As the district superintendent, do you feel the needs for professional learning communities outweigh the costs?
I strongly believe that I would take it from a different approach and say we can't afford not to have professional learning communities. Clearly, the one best way to improve student achievement is teacher collaboration, and the cost of not doing, I think, would be really negative on our district. We look at using data to ensure success. We do a PLC survey that was brought in from the kind of the gurus of PLCs, and we do that survey each year. And for the past 4 years, statistically, it continues to improve, and PLCs get better in the district. And I think ultimately, at the end of the day, what we really want to see is improved student achievement. And our student achievement in Wauwatosa has improved over the past 3 years, each year. We continue to get growth, and we continue to have increasing poverty, increasing diversity in our school district, which in many places would mean a lower student achievement, and yet ours continues to rise. So I think we see some real positive gains, and like I said, we can't afford not to have professional learning communities.
Oh, Freddie, what's this that you've made over here?
Well, I'm learning all about PLCs today.
What does PLC stand for?
That stands for Professional Learning Community. Now, I understand one part of the PLC comes from something called literacy coaching, and you, as a reading specialist, can tell me a little bit about that, right?
Yes, I can. Thanks, Freddie. In the Wauwatosa School District, we have literacy and math coaches at the elementary, middle, and high schools. Formal coaching involves grade-level teachers, the reading specialist, the principal, and the coaching consultant, and they are all part of the pre-planning, observation, and debrief cycle.
Now, what do you learn from literacy coaching?
Well, I learn about the process of teaching teachers to become reflective in their practice and helping them make important instructional changes to improve student learning and achievement.
Ooh, you said a very important word, achievement. Now, can you tell me, how does literacy coaching improve student achievement?
Well, I can see how literacy coaching inspires teachers to make their lessons come alive, and I can see how students transfer this knowledge into their thinking in reading and in writing.
Speaking of reading, I think it's time for a story.
Old King Derwin of Did.
Wow, Mrs. Dalton, you must really love reading and literature. I know that Wauwatosa School District offers literacy coaching to their teachers. Can you tell me how that's impacted your teaching?
Well, it has impacted greatly. I actually learned a lot about teaching practices that I need to reflect on and improve. I also learned a lot about working with students and front-loading them before we read so that they have a background knowledge that help them through comprehending what they're reading.
They can show what they know.
Exactly, yes. We always show what we know.
What's the biggest improvement you've seen with your PLC in terms of language arts?
When we give the weekly assessment, I'll look at my data and there are certain areas that show my students didn't do so well on. So then I'm able to go back with my PLC team and ask them, how did your students do? And then they're able to share ideas and teaching strategies that they use to help get their students where they want them to be.
So it's a collaboration.
It is a big collaboration, and we have to work together as a team and really focus on student learning.
Yay, teamwork!
But the teamwork for student achievement doesn't stop there. When district teacher leader Lisa O'Malley thinks about her work as an instructional coach, she feels that coaching is the tool that gives teachers the opportunity to think out loud about the teaching and learning that takes place daily in their classrooms. It's a thoughtful reflection tool that takes teachers to the next level in terms of their teaching practice. As teachers work with their grade-level team and instructional coach, they are planning for purposeful instruction, which is focused on their grade-level students, their students' readiness to learn, and they are determining how student progress will be measured. This reflective practice improves student learning because it allows teachers the opportunity to plan, instruct, reflect, and change classroom instruction as needed with their colleagues. Mrs. O'Malley feels that coaching as a professional development practice ensures that students are not simply taught, but that all students learn. This shift from a focus on teaching to a focus on learning guides the work that the Wauwatosa School District teachers, instructional coaches, administrators, and students complete each and every day.
The last stop on our PLC journey takes us back to Roosevelt with a call to Principal Mark Supa.
Good afternoon, Mark Super, Roosevelt Elementary School.
Hey, Mr. Supa, thank you for taking the time to visit with us. I understand you were in a literacy coaching session with teachers earlier this morning, which is super important.
I was doing the literacy session with our 4th and 5th grade teachers today.
Can you tell me, why do you value professional learning communities in Wauwatosa School District?
Well, I think this time is valuable because it's also structured to ensure staff members engage in job-embedded professional development to give teachers more skills and strategies to meet the diverse learners in their classrooms. It also allows time for sharing of best practices as it relates to student data. This has really given each member of PLCs a clear vision of where students are, where they need to go, and then how they're going to get them there.
Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us. We really appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
All right, you get back to that coaching, all right?
I will, thank you.
Thank you.
As you can see, the fantastically talented and dedicated team members of the Wauwatosa School District are doing some amazing things with professional learning communities. We've seen how PLCs encourage teachers to adjust their lessons to meet the diverse needs of students, analyze student data, and create a collaborative culture which focuses on student achievement.
I value the professional learning communities in Wauwatosa because it gives teachers the opportunity to learn from one another.
Wauwatosa is my professional learning community.
Wauwatosa is my professional learning community.
Wauwatosa is my professional learning community.
If you want to know more about how your district can implement professional learning communities, please contact the Wauwatosa School District.
Who's this big boy?